Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode 0 of my podcast. My name is Gabrielle Cataldi, and this podcast is called That 80s Child, the Generation Y. And here I would like to discuss nostalgic things like gaming from the 80s and 90s, the times in which I grew up. I was born in 1983. So I was small during the 80s, but I do recall some things, and we all have pictures that tell us how our parents dressed us and how everything was, and the big hair and the corduroy outfits. It's all there. So I just wanted to start this podcast to just kind of discuss the nostalgic feeling of people who are not getting old in a sense, but growing older with and dealing with the times and how everything has changed regarding like our parents and raising kids nowadays, and the changes in music, gaming, life, cars, books, the way people are, social media, and things like that. I thought it would be an interesting podcast. I know nostalgic things are a big thing right now, and I figured I'd ride a little bit of the wave if possible. Besides that, I also just want to put myself out there, and a podcast seems pretty good way to do that in order to get seen a little bit and not actually be seen. I'm not really big to be on camera, but regardless, if that is something that has to be done, that is what will be done. But a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Gabrielle. I come from a large Italian family background. You would think that we're really close, but unfortunately that isn't the case. My father passed away when I was 17, and his brother, so my Uncle Jimmy, also passed away, I would say about 6 months after my dad passed. And those two kind of glued the family together. They made sure that people were talking and we had get-togethers and things of that sort. And my dad was an older gentleman, so he was born in 1928, so he would be classified as a silent generation. My mom, on the other hand, is she's a boomer, as you call them. So she was a hippie. She belonged to the United Tribes of Love in Florida. And she was very much a free spirit. So it's kind of odd. I actually was just having a conversation with someone how that my dad, wanted to be with my mom. Like, my dad was pretty, I want to say he was a little conservative. At least I saw him on a dad standpoint. He wasn't my friend. He wasn't my confidant, because that is how he grew up. You are his offspring. You're his child. And he's there to protect you and to guide you in the direction in which you need to go to make the best of life. He's not there to be your buddy. Nowadays, I think parents have a tendency to be like, we're best friends. And I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that, but that's something I would like to discuss in another podcast. But just to get you an idea as to how I grew up, my dad was very, it wasn't like hands off. We got hugs and, got kisses and things of that sort. It wasn't like completely like cold and not there, but he wasn't your best friend. Let's just put it that way. My mom, on the other hand, so I had a little bit of both. My mom was my confidant. I talked to her, and she knew what was going on in my head. And I don't know if she was necessarily my best friend, because I didn't confide in her everything. I did think that there were some boundaries that needed to be laid for a parent and a child. But I know that my mom was open for whatever I wanted to talk about, because she didn't really have that in her life. And that's another thing I like to talk about like our parents and how they were to us. So yeah, this podcast is going to be a little bit of everything. My life, maybe possibly ringing bells for your life and how it was for you, and maybe bringing back some good memories, fond memories. And I'm not going to be discussing politics and things of that sort. I'd rather like to try and keep it friendlier in a sense that I will have some opinions that maybe not everybody's going to agree with, as everybody does, and we all are entitled to our opinions. I think nowadays a lot of people get very, very up in arms about if someone thinks a little bit differently than they do. But understand that everybody has a viewpoint of life that was shown to them in a different way. So how you might have been brought up is different than somebody else was brought up. But that doesn't make you any less correct in how life is. It's just life for you, and it's life for me. So I'm not that opinionated. So don't go in to be like, oh no, she's going to be one of those people who are like, this is how it is. And no, I'm very open-minded. I like to think I'm open-minded. I'm a good listener. I believe that the friends that I have, the close friends that I have said that I'm a pretty nice person, even though sometimes I don't think that I am completely. But yeah, so this is my first attempt at a podcast, so please excuse the ums and the pauses. Even though I do have notes and I do have an idea as to what we're going to talk about, it is a lot off the top. It's just off the cuff of everything that's going on, and I have my bullet points that I want to like keep myself in line with, but not going off into like a complete down some other road that I'm not even trying to get there. But I do have a tendency to do that. So I apologize in advance. I will get better as I do this. I did recently get myself a nice new microphone because the one I had before, you can hear just about everything in the background. And I know some podcasts, they don't necessarily go full on getting the top of the line stuff. I am by no means saying this is top of the line. It's just something that I did spend a little bit on to make sure that the sound quality was okay. Whether or not my voice is something you all want to listen to all the time, I hope so. I hope it's not too grating. And I hope what I talk about is interesting enough that you would want to participate. I definitely would like to hear comments, and if anybody, I would like to see about possibly getting people on to the podcast so it's not just me all of the time. I do have people that I can discuss things with. I thought about bringing my son on. He's going to be 15 in a week. So I thought it would be interesting to see Gen Zer and their viewpoint. He has been homeschooled, so his viewpoint might be a little bit more skewed than some, but he's still experiencing things that everybody else is experiencing, social media, YouTube, how life is right now. So it would be an interesting viewpoint from him. I also have my mom who, like I said, she's a baby boomer and she has a lot of insight on it. Her memory is not that great right now. Like, she can remember the stuff that happened to her when she was little and years ago and things of that sort, but her short-term memory is not there, and it's a little worrisome on my part. So that is something else I'm planning on talking about our parents and the aging process and how we're handling it as Gen Ys or millennials. And I know that there's another title out there for older millennials. They're calling them geriatric millennials, and that is the last time I'm going to be using that term, because I find that I'm 38 years old. I don't classify myself as old. And I know some people hate the saying that age is but a number, but I really truly believe that. It's in your head. You are who you are. Live your life. Who cares? And that's how I view it. So I don't also like the title millennial, but fine. I'm part of that encompassing generation, but I'm definitely a Gen Y. So I know what it's like prior to the internet being in every household. I know what it's like before there was a computer in every household. I played on the Atari. I played on the NES and the Super NES, and worked my way up to what we have now. And I don't have the PS5 yet because it's very difficult to get. But I am a gamer, so that's something I definitely want to talk about. I love music, so that's another thing I would love to talk about. I also am a writer. I have a blog. I will also be discussing that. So I hope that this gives you a little bit about me. I know that over time you'll probably learn a little bit more about me. I currently live in New Jersey, in Merchantville. I used to live in Hamilton. We had a 10-acre farm. And that was like my dad's dream. And thankfully, he was able to see that through before he passed. And I have a brother, and I also have half siblings from my dad's previous marriage. So there's a lot of dynamic going on in my life that I can easily discuss and get multiple series episodes in here with no problem, and to be able to bring in that interesting nostalgic background as well, because as much as I believe that I wasn't too much into the in-crowd things of the 90s, like, because I was in first grade in 89 and I graduated high school in 2001, so it was a nice span of time that a lot of things happened, and I know a lot of things are coming back around, because I remember back in the 90s, a lot of the 60s, like bell bottoms and the tie-dye stuff was coming, like that was coming back around. Now, right now, the 90s look is going in, and it's like early 2000s. And it's funny just seeing how those things come and go, and then they just all of a sudden have a resurgence. So, but I wasn't big on following the crowd. I did my own thing. Hence, I didn't have a lot of friends, and I did get bullied in school. So, again, something else to talk about. So there was a lot of different things that I can add to the pot of nostalgia. So I'm hoping that you would be interested in listening to more. This was just a little bit about me and what the actual podcast will be about. So I hope that you will check out the other episodes. This is episode 0, and I will be posting this and another one so that you can just skip over this, really, if you didn't want to hear all of it, but just to get to know me and what the series will be about. And I'm hoping to expand eventually, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself, because if this isn't something that people want to listen to, maybe I can tweak it, obviously, but I definitely think that this is something that people can relate to, especially my age and the audience that's out there. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you will subscribe to the podcast to get alerts when I have new ones coming out. And please feel free to comment and to reach out to me. I do have my contact information on the profile to let me know if there's anything that you want me to add or change, or I'm very much open to suggestions. So thank you so much for tuning in and checking this out. I hope you check my other ones out, and I hope you have a great day and enjoy. This is Gabrielle signing out for That 80s Child, the Generation Y.